Hey, everybody. Lost track of time. Saw that the top of the hour came. So, welcome back to Trusty's late night slot, at least temporarily for another few weeks still. I decided not to do a sale tonight. We are just going to kind of be hanging out, doing some review of some stuff that we bought or that I bought. Well, Katie can show things that she bought too if she wants, but I'm just going to be kind of showcasing something. I got something really, really cool that just went live on my eBay store, so I'm going to show that. And we're just going to hang out tonight. The sales have been a little stressful for me lately. Haven't been enjoying them as much as I like. Maybe it's because of the late night. Maybe it's just because people are oversaturated with the sales. I don't know. But I had to change something up. So we're all about keeping things fun. Tonight, I'm not only not selling the Mona Lisa, I'm not selling anything. So we're just here to chat, hang out, say hi. And I'm actually thrilled that some people are joining in because there's some names I haven't seen in a while. Got Katie 2.0, the other Katie, Berkeley girl.
She's seen her in ages.
Yeah, I hadn't seen her in quite some time. She did some great support for the Doxy rescue, and she bought that amazing recipe box that all the vintage resellers donated recipes into. It was like one of the most expensive recipe boxes ever sold. I'm sure it's going to mess up every comp in eBay till the end of time. They're going to wonder why this little oak hand painted box was worth like $80. But it's all because of Katie and supporting the Doxy. So thanks for joining us again, Katie. I coming in from the West Coast, so maybe you like the later night. It's not quite so late for you. Late night for Angela, though. She's down the street for me, so she's here in the Chicago area. Nettie hanging out in the West Coast again with her little pug as well.
So darling, Nettie.
We're just talking about Louie, Katie's pug. So why don't you give everyone a little crash course on the saga of Louie today?
Yeah, Louie went to the doggy dermatologist. Didn't even know they had doggy dermatologists, but I learned that today. And Louie's
they will have anything for a dog that can make money.
Yes, that's true. So Louie is allergic to possibly food, but she's also got some skin conditions that are common with pugs, and she's been itching a lot. So finally, we know what's wrong, and we can give her some medicine, and hopefully, with her allergy shots and maybe new food, she'll be able to calm down with some of her skin conditions. But man, I was there for many hours today. They were running behind, I think. But the doctor was so nice, and she spent all the time in the world with us, making sure that I knew what I was supposed to do, and it was very good. So I'm glad Louie's back, but she is tired. She had an allergy shot, which makes her exhausted, supposedly, and she is curled up on the couch right now, taking a little bit. Yeah, Apoquil was the one Louie was on, Leanne, but it wasn't helping. So they gave her this other shot that's supposed to be better, and she gets it monthly.
So what was Apoquil for? I don't think I've heard of that one.
Apoquil was like an allergy medicine for dogs. Okay. It's a newer medicine that's come out on the market, but the doctor was explaining to me that it doesn't always work. So, yep.
Dog astrologer says that's what life should be like. So yeah, so Louie's good, just a little itchy. Yeah. And you said though she's been itchy for a while. This is like really the first time you were able to even get in.
Yeah, so I waited, guys, like 4 or 5 months to get into this dermatologist. It was a big deal to get on the wait list because they closed their other location. So this is the only one in town. And my vet recommended it, and I've been on the wait list. Finally, they called and canceled. There was a cancellation, so I got in because it wasn't going to be until July, like 9th or something.
Wow.
And so I was like, thank you, because my poor vet was doing everything she could, but not enough to do the stuff that the dermatology people do. So Louie, there was no threat to her, but as someone that deals with allergies and itching and skin conditions, I really understand how horrible that can be. And poor Louie, but I'm glad she's okay.
I think she's glad she's going to do well. So Sherry's joined us again. Tiger coming in, also coming from the Southwest, so Western time zone.
Tiger.
Tim coming in, our resident Canadian, coming in from Ontario, if I remember correctly. Carrie coming up from Texas. Michelle representing the Great White North of Minnesota. And Sam being the first New Englander coming in from Live Free or Die, New Hampshire. Cheryl, another Canuck, coming into the chat. We got another got Michigan represented now with Jerry. And let's see, you got another piece of Chicago represented with Brian. Horny Hamster coming in from Florida. They'll keeping
Welcome, hamster.
Katie company in the Florida region. Yeah, the other side of the globe covered because we don't have Nate tonight. So we've got Fiona, Blackie Jr. of Future Past. Future Past, kind of almost literal because they're that international dateline thing. Who knows? Leanne, Crafty Kitties. Hey, Leanne, thanks for joining us. And let's see. No, that's okay, Katie. Yeah, we're all buried with different things. So hey, and again, this late slot has been weird for me because when I have rehearsals, I've been in rehearsal for hours, then I have to come back, not have to, but then I come in and have to prep for this, so it ends up becoming a long night, and then rehearsal schedules are getting really weird right now with a lot of sickness and things, so things are moving around. So it's anybody that joins me, I'm very happy to have you. And like I said, tonight we're just kind of hanging out, not even going to do it as a sale. I am going to show something that did go up on my eBay channel. And that's what I might start doing more, is just putting more on eBay and just talking about it here. We'll just figure it out. I got to try and figure out what I want to do with my channel. Krista's Antiques and Collectibles coming in. So thanks for joining.
Name. Welcome.
Can't remember if I said hi to Nancy. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody here.
Mel
Norma Jean coming in from the East Coast. So it's getting late for her. And let's see. Lucinda. Hello, Lucinda. Thanks for joining us again. Oh, I got some Europeans coming in. Got Amelia coming in from Finland.
Welcome.
Wait, Finland or Norway?
I think she's in Finland.
Yeah. I think she's Finland.
Yeah, welcome, Mel.
So thanks so much for coming in. Let's see. And now a guy with a little dog allergic fescue grass. I'm not even sure I know what fescue grass is.
I don't know what kind of grass that is, but I will
dig up the whole yard and plant. The things we do for our dogs. Yeah. I do not have a dog now, but when I was married for 24 years, we had dogs throughout that time. And for a while, they were the only children we had. My wedding present to my wife was her Schnauzer, and her wedding present to me was my Basset Hound. And they were our children for the first 5-6 years of our marriage. And cost more than some kids cost. So, totally understand.
I got asked today what kind of grass I have outside my apartment, what kind of dirt, and what kind of shrubs. I'm like, I don't know. They're green and brown. That's about all I can tell you.
I know there are types of grasses, so that's just something I wouldn't be able to answer that question either. Dirt, though, I didn't even know there was different types of dirt. No. There's clay. And then dirt. I wouldn't even know how to answer that question. It's not potting soil. So Christina's coming in again from Great North, thrifting up north. Kara coming in from Georgia, I think. So we got some more South represented. And let's see. So hopefully, Blackberry Thistle Tea. Antique Agenda has been popping in more recently. So thanks for joining us again. Antique Agenda. Nancy, who I swapped with. Yes, so my show is scheduled to perform the weekend of, I looked at my calendar because I don't know off the top of my head. I think my show opens March 10th and runs through that weekend. So we'd probably be swapping back on March 17th. So that is the schedule as of this time, knock wood. COVID is messing up everything. Yeah. The show was supposed to run this weekend, last weekend. So we pushed it back 5 weeks. So we shall see what happens. But yeah, so Nancy from This Overstuffed House, it's not like that was my time slot and this was her time slot, but we did kind of flip flop. And then she said she's more than willing to flip back to her original. So we'll just see, we'll see what ends up happening. But I do appreciate, Nancy, that you working with me on that. Working with somebody I know so that we can have that communication. Michelle's coming in, Mash Pace and 300. Great to have you back.
Nancy.
I was about to say hello to Vintage and Vinyl. Hi, Katie. How you doing? Thanks for joining us. Jan and Linda. Now I'm getting into the romper room vision, and I see Michelle and I see Nancy. So yep, mid-March. So we'd be good. That's right, St. Patrick's Day.
About shark attacks. And yes, Tim, to answer your question, Tim, in Canada, we do have a lot of shark attacks here in Florida, particularly Jack's Beach. There's been quite a few. In fact, over the summer when I was out at the beach, I saw several sharks swimming by, and that was the end of me getting in the water for the day. So there you go.
Michelle said her kid cost $20,000 before insurance. Yike. Yeah, my dog was allergic to cedar. Ooh.
Oh.
And sometimes it is hard to it's trying to figure out, like, just probably what your doctor was trying to say. Okay, let's see what they're exposed to. And it's really not a whole lot different when you're as a child or even as an adult. If you're trying to track down an allergy, you start to have to answer all these questions, and you're answering questions that you maybe didn't think about. I had what was it called? Contact dermatitis a while back, and it took quite some time for me to figure out what actually was causing it. And it was kind of like process of elimination. What it was I was having my dress shirts dry cleaned, and I do have sensitive skin, but I've been going to this dry cleaner for a year or 2 years. There had been no issue. And so suddenly I started, and the rash was on my torso and my upper arms, but it wasn't on my legs and it wasn't on my forearms. So first, I mean, in hindsight, it seemed like, I should have figured it out faster. But initially, it's like it wasn't a consistent all over rash. There were just like spots of it. And so I was trying to figure out, it didn't connect that it was my shirt until I always wear long sleeve shirts. To this day, I will wear a long sleeve shirt. I will roll up the cuffs. I hate having my sleeves all the way down unless I'm in a suit coat. So if I'm just wearing a casual long sleeve shirt, even as a dress shirt, I will still roll up those sleeves. So the rash was only going down to my biceps until I wore a suit. And so I had rolled down my sleeves, buttoned it, and then put that suit on. And when I came home that night, that rash had gone all the way down to my wrists. I'm like, okay, that's what it's got to be. And so I went into the dry cleaner. Said, did you change solvents? Or I don't know if they were being dry cleaned. I think they're just being laundered at that point. And like, oh yeah, we changed this new thing. Like, yes, it's trying to kill me. So like, please stop. But it took a while. And I was trying, of course, I'm wearing different shirts each day, and it wasn't getting any better. And then like over the weekend, it seemed to be getting better because I wasn't wearing dry clean shirts. So it was just one of these things that takes time. When your dog can't answer questions, it's just like, okay, wait. What did my dog eat? Where did he go? Where did she go? Where did we walk in a new park? Did we walk by flowers in bloom or whatever?
Well, I got patch tested because I have pretty severe allergies to like lavender, soaps, all kinds of things, metals, you name it, And I patch tested, and I came back to the dermatologist because I was just miserable. When they patch test you, your back it breaks out if you're allergic to all the stuff. The guy's like, yeah, you're allergic to like 99% of the things on here. No wonder you're just awfully miserable. So they gave me a list of things. And then, of course, now they have this cool technology where there's an app. And so they load all of your stuff into an app, and you can go around with a little scanner and scan products, and it will say like, this is safe for you or not safe for you. Well, most of the shampoos and soaps in a regular grocery store are not safe for me. So I have special soap. So Louie's got special shampoo now too. So we're in the same club.
I remember in high school, I dated a girl that was also the same thing. She had done that patch test. I'd never heard of that before, but she had also done the pin test or whatever across the back. Also tons of allergies. First time we go on a date, I pick her up. She gets in my car, and she literally first words out of her mouth, "When was the last time you dusted your car?" Like, that's an easy answer. Never. She's like, "I'm allergic to dust." I'm like, okay, we have a problem. Because at this point, I don't even have anything to dust my car with. So it was a short-lived relationship. She was fine. She'd taken her Benadryl, whatever. Like, it was just one of those things that I needed to be aware of. But it became, in the short relationship we had, watching dining experiences, suddenly like asking the restaurant every single thing that was in a meal. Like, don't give me the highlights, give me everything, because I'm allergic to this, allergic to that, and that was before the days of everyone being aware of gluten and all that kind of stuff. So it actually did have a second date. We did date a couple times. We became lab partners in our anatomy and physiology class. Things work out, but did not end up being long term. But it was an experience, because if you're not allergic to anything, you don't live your life that way. And so suddenly it was a very eye-opening experience. Knock wood, nobody in my family growing up ever really had any allergies. And even my daughter didn't have any allergies. It just were things that people didn't have to, I didn't have to really worry about, but I see it in others and I feel sorry, because it's tough. And it's tough to try and figure that kind of stuff out.
I'm lucky to not be allergic to food. Like, I don't have food allergies. I have a friend that's definitely allergic to seafood, which is so hard living in Florida because seafood is everywhere. So that's a real eye-opening experience when you have someone that's allergic to like peanuts or seafood or things that are common. That's definitely hard.
And I think I don't know if it's just different sensitivities of things have developed, or things, other things become more resistant. But again, luckily my daughter did not have any allergies growing up, but she was always exposed to group situations where there were kids who did have allergies. And so that, you would get the notifications coming home saying, okay, someone in the class has peanut allergy. So you cannot bring any peanut products. You can't bring peanut butter. Like, it can't even be in the same room as these kids. So it's like, okay, well, that's like a whole experience. And then one year we got the notification that there was a child in the class that was allergic to latex. And so suddenly you couldn't have balloons at the birthday parties, just like things that you don't even think about. Like, first of all, how do you even know that you're allergic to latex? Like, that's
a very specific thing.
Yeah, particularly as a child, like, we are like Trusty after dark. People could come up with their own conclusions of how to learn if you're allergic to latex, knock yourself out. But as a kid, let's just assume they're not going to have those opportunities to figure that out. So that notification came home. It's like, it's not that big of a deal. But then it changes things, like, kids have birthday parties in the class all the time. What's like one of the first things that you bring in the birthday party? You bring a cake and you bring balloons. So then there was a short time where you couldn't have, what was it? You couldn't have like home baked stuff. You had to get it from the store so that it had all of the ingredients on it. So it seemed like to me, I'm like, well, it'd be healthier making it from home. But then they're like, well, then what kind of flour did you use? What kind of, like, suddenly you just didn't have that kind of control. That's a good question, Nancy. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember if Mylar was considered acceptable at the time or not. My wife at the time was kind of like the stay-at-home mom, so she really did all the party things. So really, I just remember her bitching about it, but I don't remember how they worked around it.
We had a girl that had peanut allergies, but she was deathly allergic. And so you couldn't bring peanut butter. And I remember some of the parents complaining, which is so sad anyway, that someone would complain about someone else as a deathly allergy to peanuts. It's like, okay, make a ham sandwich and, everything will be okay. But they know it was a big deal. And the school field trips, people just couldn't pack, any type of peanut, anything, because even the residue was dangerous. And so we had ham sandwiches that year for the entire year. And I got tired of ham really fast.
I would imagine. We do have a lot of kids involved in the theater production that I'm rehearsing for. And so we do have a built-in snack break in the middle of our rehearsal. And so everyone has to be at least 6 feet apart, because that's the only time we're allowed to take our masks off to have snacks. And that's actually the only announcement they made, is it just could not have peanuts in it. So I don't know at that point, these are kids coming from all different schools, from all different areas, traveling different distances. I don't remember if they asked me if I had an allergy, but maybe if I had a kid there, they might have asked. So I don't know how sometimes you track when you bring in, like when that show started, we had over 70 kids. So you could have 70 different allergies that suddenly you've got to try and, coordinate. So the only one that actually seemed to get announced, though, was peanuts. So I guess that's a fairly major one. And I think it was while my daughter was in school, I suddenly discovered that it's one of those things, you don't know what you don't know. We suddenly got, one of the restrictions was we couldn't have any tree nuts.
Oh.
And I just read that note so many times, like, where do nuts grow? I'm like, is a peanut a tree nut? Like, do peanuts grow on trees or in a bush or on the ground? I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen one in the wild.
Like, where do almonds come from?
Yeah. I'm like, peanuts come in a jar. They look great in glass. Like I have no idea. And so
Oh,
I
they
had
all look a
never,
lot.
and I don't understand it. Like I guess, but there is some level of that sensitivity that a tree nut is something in it that makes you allergic to it differently. There you go. Peanut is a legume, so that's like a ground bean thing. And so like a tree nut has one thing. So like you could be allergic to a tree nut, but you would not be allergic to a peanut, which blew my mind. Like if you're gonna be allergic to nuts, like peanuts, of course gonna be the one. So
Interesting.
you raised them. Did you name them? Hey, Junior, you gotta grow up, like crack you on the head and rip you open. So, like the kids that raise on the farm, raising pigs until they become bacon. So
That's frightening.
so yeah, so there. I'm sorry. I'm of a certain age. When I think of peanuts, I think of Jimmy Carter, and I think of Jimmy Carter, I think of Georgia. So the only place that they grow is on Jimmy Carter's farm in Georgia. Like I don't even know who else grows peanuts, and certainly did not know where they grew. And then as you start deciding, like, okay, there is an almond tree, but I don't think I could tell you what an almond tree looked like and what the actual fruit or nut would look like as it was happening in the wild. So
there's a place in Georgia that we would go growing up when we'd road trip to visit my grandparents, or my grandparents would come here. They always stopped off of, I think it's exit 36 in Georgia, and it's a place called We're Nuts. Yes, that's the name of it. And it's in a big old house. And they have pecans, peanuts, and I want to say walnuts now. But my grandma still orders from them. They've gotten savvy. They actually moved from their phone number to an online website this year, which is, very revolutionary for the little walnut place that we used to stop. But we would get fresh peanuts, and they had hard-boiled peanuts, which are delicious if you've never had those. Oh, so good.
And I think so. Several people are talking about pecans. And
yeah.
I was regularly raised with pecans because my mother basically grew up in the South, not like deep South. She was born in Cairo, Illinois, and they primarily lived in Missouri. And our family was from Missouri, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So I've always kind of equated the pecan as being a little bit on the southern side. I don't know if I would know a pecan tree if it landed on me.
No.
But pecans were very present in our house and not particularly present in any of my friends' houses. Like I don't know if that was just not a thing, but we would always have pecan pie. We would crush the pecans and put them into cookies. Things that I don't know if that was just a unique thing.
It's very southern. Oh, roasted chestnuts are delicious.
I can't say I've ever had one other than singing about them in the song, but.
In England, they're everywhere, and they're delicious. They're wonderful. And there's a place that does, if you go to the theater here, which is my favorite thing, at intermission, they have a place that does roasted chestnuts, and they do roasted different nuts. Like you can get all different kinds, but my favorite is the roasted cashews because they put something on it, and it smells so good. And I usually don't get things, at the theater to eat, but I will make a special wait in line for that particular nut stand just to get the cashews because it's like the best snack you'll ever eat in your life. And I miss that so much because we can't go to the theater. I mean, I miss theater, but I also miss the nuts.
I would say that was one of the, I was married for 24 years. I still have a very amicable relationship with my ex-wife. We still have our daughter. And so we are always, we don't talk all the time, but when we do, we're fine. But there are things like as the marriage progressed, there are certain things that we were a perfect pair, and nuts was one of them because anytime you got those boxes of mixed nuts, my wife liked all of the nuts other than cashews. And my favorite nut were the cashews.
Yep.
So between the two of us, we could devour the whole thing. But that was just one of the weird things that I think of when we just talk about those things of mixed nuts. She would always be picking them out to the side. And I'm like, okay, thank you. That made it easier for me to pick them up and eat them because I think cashews are the best.
I love cashews. I could eat an entire jar if you just let me.
Candied pecans are fantastic. I think because I had them so often, I don't tend to like them plain. They're super dry. They have that kind of weird texture as you start chewing them. that I do feel like they need to be in something. So we didn't really just eat them in a bowl. Like they were always in something. So to me, pecans always need to be cooked in some way, but candied or anything carameled around them. Oh, that was fantastic. Love macadamia nuts.
Yes, candied macadamia nuts with honey is delicious.
Almonds are okay, but those were never my favorites.
Yeah. I could take or leave almonds. They have the almond skin on the outside is just it's a weird texture. So, I'm not the biggest fan. Like I'll eat almonds, but I prefer them to be slivered and in something or chopped up. They're just better that way.
Yeah. So we've got both of us are wearing our attempts to bring back, in your case, bring back the brooch, and I'm bringing back the hat pin. So why don't we show, you've got the more flashy brooch today. So why don't you show what you're wearing today?
I do have a pretty fabulous brooch. I'll take it off here so you guys can see it. Hey, Dolores. Now, this is a pretty fabulous piece that I believe Kat was selling on Pam's sale. And it was a very sweet gift from Belinda Carroll. And this is, let's see, Benedict, New York. Very good brooch manufacturers. You've got the large cabochons, the other cabochon on the bottom, and then you've got the tassel-y fringe. There's a lot of fun movement to this, and I love the amber cabochons. And, of course, you can turn it into a necklace if you wanted to. I'm not a big necklace gal, so it's great as a brooch. But, I mean, look, on a hat, that would be really fun.
That would be fantastic. Gorgeous. So what I am wearing is my newest edition. Again, I don't really wear them as brooches, but I'll get into so the hashtag is the brooch gang. I'm seeing it used all over the place, sometimes with the word the and sometimes without the word the. So you're the official moderator of the hashtag, Katie. So is it hashtag the brooch gang or is it just hashtag brooch gang?
It is the brooch gang, and anybody can be a part of this. So for all of you guys watching, if you want to join in, it's super simple. All you have to do is take a picture of your brooch or yourself, post it to Instagram, tag me and Angela so that we can find it, but also use that hashtag, the brooch gang. And it's just a fun little thing to join in on, to share your brooches, what you're wearing. I've been posting to the hashtag every day. Angela has. Patrick has been doing some really fun content for it, and so has Dolores. So lots of people in the chat helping bring back the brooch, and Tiger was in the chat, and he's helping Patrick bring back the
Yep, that was exactly what I was going to say. Tiger and I are clinging onto the side of this trend where I have the brooch. This happens to be a brooch that I was gifted by Katie, as a matter of fact. Because I'm not as knowledgeable on them. I didn't actually think to look to see if it was signed. I don't think it was.
I don't think it is.
But I picked this one to go with this shirt because they had the same greenish color on it. So I did post this today. And so there's the hashtag the brooch gang. There's also the one that has been around for a while, which Katie was supporting, which was hashtag bring back the brooch. So now what Tiger and I are trying to do is bring back the hat pin. So we're turning the brooches into hat pins. So we've got the newest one that Katie just sent me earlier this week. So that was already been on there. And then this hat already had a couple of pins on it. We've got the trunk down elephant that's been upcycled from a sterling fork. And then I think if Mel is still in the chat, that is actually no, maybe this was Dutch. It's actually the Oyster Eater by Jan Stier. It's a little painting that's been turned into a hat pin. So that is my attempt. Yeah, bring back. And so it's like, it's to a certain extent, just like when you pick the right brooch to go with whatever you're wearing or to accent your color scheme or whatever. Well, I can do the same thing with the hat pin, because try and find the right color hat to go with my Oasis palm trees. So I was looking at, I got a couple of brooches from Katie, and so we were considering putting up the trunk down elephant. The elephant could kind of go through the Oasis, but it was a little bit too colorful for the shirt that I was wearing. Another one that Katie sent me was the Santa Claus turtle, which
that one is so fun.
That's so cute. So I got to figure out when to wear it. I won't limit it to just Christmas, but didn't feel the Oasis was the right one. And I almost went ironic and put the koi fish as part of the palm tree oases. But then I realized that the color in the globe was the same color in the trees. So that's what won out. So I got those. And then Katie also sent me, I wore one earlier this week. I think it's still on the hat. She also, well, technically I bought this from Katie. This was in her joints. This was in her joint sale with Angela from Dear Angela's Vintage, and it was really one of the only brooches that she was selling that I felt I could wear. They're all beautiful, but I don't anticipate myself going down the rhinestone road, so it's, maybe looking, and for those who want to, that's totally fine. But I am going to wear them as hat pins, and I just feel, I hate to say it, but I wanted more of a masculine pin. So, I'm not saying that Patrick the Penguin is necessarily the most masculine pin, but I felt he would look pretty good on a black and white hat. So I got that one as well. So those were the pins that were, that one I bought, but then when she sent it to me, she gifted me these others. And then the others, so I actually have several pins. This one I bought for myself.
Oh, that one's gorgeous.
So this is I had a difficult time getting it on the hat, so I'm not going to take it back off, but it is marked on the back Peru 925. So it's Peruvian sterling silver. So it's got this great Aztec look to it. And I loved the fact that it was that goes long, that it sits really nicely on the band itself. So I was really happy with that one. And as I started looking for other pins that I bought myself, I picked this up over the weekend. It's technically a convention badge holder.
Ooh.
But it's just a really lightweight aluminum. It's kind of got that theatrical stage thing. But on the back, you've got the giant pin to be able to attach it. But then you can see there's like a bar. And so that's where the ribbons would have been attached. So you would have had that kind of, as an attendee, you might have had like a long ribbon, either as an award or just as some sort of convention or something like that. So the ribbons were long gone, super lightweight. So it won't be an issue trying to put it on. I have a couple that are heavy. I got a chauffeur's badge. It's over in my coat closet, but it's a really heavy one. And I put that on my outdoor cap, and it kind of like sags a little bit because it's kind of heavy. But this is what I fell in love with. So this one I picked up for myself because it's super lightweight and that'll look great on a pin. I picked up this Heinz, the Heinz pickle. And so giving a little snapshot advance. Nate is not in the chat. Katie knows she has one of these heading to her, and Nate will have one of these heading to him as well. So the triptych can all have the Heinz pickle wearing on our persons during some of our triptychs, or just to have. And then
we can all bring back the hat pin with the little Heinz pickle. I love it.
Absolutely. And I actually had gone to my daughter during all the COVID stuff after she came back from Germany. Her school did not go back in person. So she got an apartment in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is where the Heinz Museum is. So one semester I went and visited her in Pittsburgh, and we went to the Heinz Museum. So I've actually saw all the Heinz pickle history. And then I love, just in general, I love enamel. And so I also picked this up as another pin that I'll probably put into a hat. It's just got these gorgeous blues in it. I don't think either of these are signed. This one has some age to it because it is actually corroding on the edges. So I do believe that one has some age to it, probably 60s. And then this one is enamel on copper.
Ooh, wow.
And it's just got some really bright colors.
Ooh, I like that one, Patrick.
Built into it. So again, I just thought this one, like, it's technically a brooch, but I could totally see this going onto a hat. Not quite the same greens as on here, but I could totally see that going into a couple different options.
Definitely.
So those were the brooches that I picked up for myself. And I also, with the help of Katie, I did want to show. So, and this is something, like I said, this is a chat. I'm not really selling anything. I'm not selling anything. So we're just talking. If you have,
And I saw Jan's question. Yes.
yeah, I rolled up, and all of a sudden, like, wait, I need to grab it before it disappears. Okay, so I saw how many of each I didn't know. Talking about hats. Hats, I only have, I have like 6 or 7, but they're very similar in similar colors. So I just ordered 2 more that are supposed to be here next week. And then if people joined the chat last night, I was on Katie's channel showing off my flower frogs. I wore my beret. I really don't think that's one I'm going to wear all the time. Like that gets into all. I've got kind of like costume pieces like the beret. I've got my Scottish hat, which I'm sorry, I think I look damn good in the Scottish hat, but
the Scottish hat is great.
That's not something I feel I can just like pop on a Thursday. There needs to be an occasion. Like I need to be doing something Scottish to be able to wear that one. And I do have a cowboy hat, but it's a traditional cowboy hat, but it's just big, and so it creates a huge shadow because it has a really big front brim. So like it's actually fundamentally it's something I probably with on stage as well. And again, it feels more like a costume. So, but almost all of them, what Katie said, these were trilbies. So almost all of them are trilbies, but the ones that I ordered, I tried a couple different shapes. So we will see. And but Katie's got me in spades.
Yeah, I probably have 30 hats now.
Wow.
Colors if I had, I'm not near my hat display, but I probably have about 30 because I have different colors and things.
Yeah, I did do an Instagram post where I pulled up some of my theater pictures, and one of them was when I wore the kilt. So I actually wore it for Halloween, just this past Halloween as well. But I like the hat, and it actually has a vintage grenadier, Scottish grenadier badge on it. So it's actually it's a brilliant hat pin, brilliant brooch. So yes, but it's not one I'll probably wear very often. So I have to interchange them. This one, I ended up putting, there's like technically now 3 on it. I don't know if I'm going to get to the point. I'm not sure I'm going to get to the point where I just want to like fill it. I think I'm going to want to exchange them. So my biggest issue is figuring out a way to put them on display. And Katie is going to hopefully be showcasing some of what she's in the process of doing at some point soon. What was the number that you hit? Unless you don't want to announce that number.
Oh no, I'm thrilled. So I have exactly 255 brooches in my collection. And
255. Hey, Delbert.
Hey, Delbert. Yeah, so I'm in the process of actually organizing all of those because I have these Melly or Mealy, I don't know how you say it. Hey, young star girl, jewelry cases, and they're just not working. The brooches are all jumbled in there. They probably are getting scratched. I noticed one lost a stone the other day, which was very sad for me. I have it so I can glue it back in, which is good. But I need something a little bit better. And Pam at Pamela Blanchard actually recommended that I get what's called a brooch binder. Now, I had never heard of this, and I was like, a brooch binder? Come again? And she said, well, actually, what you do is you get one of those big binders, and they're like 4 inches, the big medical or office binders. And then you get baseball card sleeves and stick the brooches down in there. And Patrick had suggested, which I think is brilliant, even putting something behind them, like a card, so that they're kind of, you just don't see clear after clear after clear. You see each brooch on each page, and then you can just flip through it. So I've ordered that from Amazon. Actually, it's probably already here in my mailbox downstairs. And I'm going to start, that'll be my weekend project, is getting all of those organized, so I don't have them all jumbled in those cases.
Because she impressively was able to fit the bulk of those in the cases, but some of them, the wells of the bottom of the case, like, oh, look how many it holds. Like, well, yes, but now all the little ones have just like burrowed down. You'll never see them again because. So I want to figure out a way to. I don't have nearly at this point. I probably have a grand total of a dozen of the pins. But to put them in a way so that I will be able to rotate them. So like the chauffeur badge was kind of a spontaneous choice to go on my outdoor hat because I actually have several Huckster licenses. And when I'm looking for Huckster licenses, I will also find chauffeur licenses, and they're just really cool. So right now the chauffeur licenses I have in a little junk jar because they just like kind of look cool in there. And the one that went on the hat was a little bit too wide to fit into the top of the junk bottle. So it's like I had this just kind of sitting there. And so I'm like, oh, hey, I'll put it on. I'm wearing it in my car. I can be like a chauffeur. It totally made sense. But I want to be able to pull the other chauffeur pins out so maybe I can rotate between them because they're all from the 20s and 30s. There's cool looking conversation, pins. But if I don't have them easy access, I'm never going to change them out. So that's my thing. I don't want them to get buried. Hey, lobster.
Hey, lobster.
I don't want them to get buried in the mix and it's like to a certain extent, like Katie's not quite to one a day.
So I'd love to be though.
So we need to work toward the 1 a day brooch. So like I said, we could get them into a binder, and she can make like a fold down the corner. And I've already worn this one this year, so she never wears the same brooch twice. I'm not quite to that, but I want to be able to see them so that I don't just rotate the 2 or 3 favorites that I always want to have. I want to make sure that everyone gets their day in the sun. So, and some of it's based on color. So I really did appreciate getting this one from Katie. And I have a Globe collection, but I didn't want this to disappear into the Globe collection because then nobody would see it. So put it on my hat, and we'll see what happens. But I did also buy a buying space. I did also buy a bunch of brooches that I will be selling. So I'm just going to show them. And so for those of you who do live sales, who do particularly the Instagram sales, but more the drop sales, I would definitely be interested in some of your suggestions, because what I think I'm going to do is some of these will end up going into, I'll be doing a live sale with Misty coming up next month. So some of these will end up going into her sale, but some of them I want to maybe just give a try and sell them on Instagram. So some of them are not marked. Some of them are. I thought this one was beautiful. Katie was less enamored by it. This was we passed by and I'm like, oh, I like that. She's like, yeah, it's nice. Like, well, I'm getting
it in person, Patrick. It's even more stunning because it's all prong set with the.
It's all prong set. So I got the open filigree work. It's very light. It's very the ice blue color and then the dark blue accents. It's unsigned. It's what would be the best way to sell things like this on Instagram. Like I kind of watch what other people do. So I like the concept that maybe I show 5 or 10 brooches where I say, okay, these are what I'm going to be listing starting such and such day and time. If you're interested, ask for a tag. I just have to find a time that then I can sit there and post all the individual posts. So I'm thinking like this would be a good one for that. I already had this one. I think is probably going to go up into a set like that. This
that's pretty.
This has the puddling on the back, and it has the arched riveted back. Really nice rhinestones on that one. I considered keeping this for myself, but I think this one will also go into the brooch drop sale. So I kind of want to hear from some of the experts what they do. I figure that maybe the ones that are not signed might do better in something like a drop sale. So I can just take as many pictures as I can and just say, these are what's coming up. Where something like I do have a Weiss set. Now, probably this Weiss pin, because it also has the matching clip-on earrings. This will probably end up going on to Misty's sale because Weiss is a really good name.
Weiss is excellent.
It's a beautiful piece in this blue. Great. They're prong set. It's signed. And if it doesn't sell at Misty's sale, that would be something I could put onto eBay or to Etsy. People would know the name. But for things that are not signed, I picked this up because this was reversed. Katie was like, "Oh, you need to get the butterfly," and I'm like, okay. So this one,
Austrian.
Yeah, so this one I wasn't as enamored with, but she said, butterflies do really well. They're all prong set, so there's things that will make this attractive to an audience, but there's nothing, maybe butterfly brooch, but this one, it's not fully closed in the back. Still well made, nice piece. But so this one will probably go in again, just maybe go into a Instagram sale, and maybe that's what I replace my YouTube live sales with, but they're going to be a lot of work to do. So I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do that.
And Weiss, yes, Dana, Weiss is very good. Weiss was founded by Albert Weiss, and he actually worked for Coro for a long time and learned and studied jewelry. And then he ended up in, I believe, 1945, starting Weiss. Now, Weiss was only around from 1945 to 1971, I believe. So it's a very short time Weiss was around. So it makes their pieces extra special because not many of them, not as many of them as, say, like Coro or Sarah Coventry or Crown Trafari are out on the market. So Weiss are pretty cool, and they do go for some good money. Oh, I love that.
Yes, let me see. I didn't think to bring my. I've got a piece of black velvet.
Oh, that is a stunning piece, Patrick.
So what's cool about this one is you can see there's the marquee shaped stones are more of a hot pink, and then the round stones have more of a iridescent pink with red going back through it. Yeah, Michelle, I had that's a good idea because I had seen them, and she was doing like massive drop sales. Now, if I remember, some of hers were also a lower price point based on, and Katie helped me with all of these based on some of what I paid. I don't think I want to do them quite to the bulk level that she had done. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I want each one to get its own showcase. So I may only do like 5 or 10 at a time. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 just sitting here. But then I have another half dozen that I picked up. So like if I pull the Weiss aside for the sale, I also have some Emmons. And this was, I will just say, I was in an antique shop and people were enamored with the conversation that was taking place on my telephone because I had Katie on video. And so I'm showcasing the booth that had all of these, and Katie's giving a play-by-play of every name, and people were just clustering around listening to what she was saying. Like, oh, okay, that's good. So I think people bought some that we passed up. But this was a name that I was less familiar with. This was Emmons. And so in the booth, it specifically said, these are Emmons brooch. So but I not necessarily that I would have passed it by because I did like the looks of this. I think it's beautiful, but I didn't know it as a name. And so Katie was kind of giving a play-by-play there. And Tim, I think if Tim's still in the chat, he was asking about Juliana. And there were some Emmons and there were some Juliana, and I passed on all the Juliana ones to get the Emmons ones.
Yeah,
so
the Emmons are great. Emmons is special because it was founded by Charles Stewart out of New York in 1949. Now, Emmons is actually named after his wife, Caroline Emmons. And the cool thing about Emmons is it's not just a brooch that you could buy like at a department store. To buy an Emmons, you had to have an exclusive invitation to an Emmons party to actually buy an Emmons brooch. So they were like some of the highest quality pieces. And Emmons is a subsidiary of Sarah Coventry. So when Emmons was founded, Sarah Coventry was also founded. And that's why Sarah Coventry, even though it's more of a costume jewelry line that was mass marketed towards, everyday women, Sarah Coventry is still a very high-end and nice brooch because they were made by the same people that did Emmons, and Emmons is just fantastic. I have one Emmons brooch, well, actually 2 in my collection. One is that massive starburst that you guys have seen, and Emmons can do really well. If you look for Emmons, you're probably going to pay up. Patrick did great buying the Emmons.
And she gave the same story about that Emmons, you needed to have an invitation to buy it. There was a group listening to the conversation, and it was like a studio audience because she said that, and it was like all 3 of them went, oh. You heard this little like awe come up in it. So I picked up 2 Emmons brooches. This is the other one. And figured that I'm doing a March sale. So this one just had some great color variation in it and just total floral that was perfect for is there a stone missing? Damn, there's a stone missing.
Well, that is something that you can fix.
And it's right here. It was luckily I kept all these in their bag, so it's in the bags. I'll have to figure out how to fix that. Okay, so I'm glad I caught that while we were doing it, so I can fix that before the show. Because when I put it up, I'm like, wait, I don't remember seeing that gap. And so it's at the very top. You can see where the stone is missing. So I will fix that one. But so that was the other Emmons one that I picked up. And then Katie also gave me some suggestions that some enamel pieces might be some good variety to offer. So this was like a combo pack. So the petals in the back are the enamel, But then you've got the rhinestones, large marquee shaped stones in the front that are all prong set on an enameled stem.
That is beautiful. And I love the Aurora Borealis center. Just stunning. 1950s, I'd presume. It's got the Y back with all the rivets. Just really gorgeous, springy piece.
Yeah, so that was a fun one to pick up. And then this one I hadn't taken out of the bag yet. This was the other enamel piece that I had picked up. This one I don't think was signed either.
Oh, I like that. Very sweet, delicate.
Yeah, so it's got the blue in the front with the rhinestone centers and then the enameled greens in the back. And then that has all the back is closed.
That is gorgeous.
And you know, you can see it's like filigree work done there, where like the bottom petals are open to then have the full petals up on the top. So there's some three-dimensionality to it.
I like that. Probably 1950s or 1960s for that brooch.
So the cloche that uses insect and flower brooches to recreate Victorian terrariums. I don't think I've seen that, but I think that would be fascinating. I know
that would be cool, Tim.
Kate talked about the idea of people using flower, like the pin flower frogs, to kind of prop up floral ones to, where they, to give them a way to display them. So for people that are not part of the brooch gang and are not wearing a brooch today, that they would still have a way to display them. And I thought that was kind of a cool idea as well. But yeah, we might have to do a little bit of digging on that one, because it sounds like people haven't heard of that one.
I haven't either, but that would be amazing. I've seen, magpie ethel, as Patrick says, with the little round flower frogs, and then they stick the 1960s, 50s enamel pins. And I think that's such a clever way to have like an indoor flower garden without any of the watering or hassle of actual plants.
Dolores, I am sure you would have more than enough interest to have a brooch party. I think everyone would want to participate, and everyone would want a special invitation from you to host the brooch party. And we would all feel, even if it was online, that we were just having our own little Emmons/Tupperware style party.
I would love that, Dolores.
Looking at the brooches. So, so it's a pretty good mix. I'm a little bummed that the one stone fell out of the Emmons, so I'm glad I found it. So I may need to have Katie walk me through how to fix that.
I can easily teach that. I've glued many a stone back in a brooch.
So at least I still have the stone. So that's because that was one of the ones I paid up for with the Emmons one. So, oh, hey, Catherine. Didn't see you pop in.
Hey, Catherine.
And I'm not sure I said hi to Dana either. So hi, Dana. So yeah, so those are some of the things I picked up. I do want to show, I'm going to make some room for it. I do want to show there was an item that went live on my eBay channel tonight. And this I picked up at the same place that I picked up the brooches. No, same day. It was a different store though, but it was the same day. So Katie did not see this. So I'm going to put you into the ether world there for a second, Katie.
Sure.
It is a 1930s scrapbook.
Oh,
so man. I saw Catherine and it made me think, oh, Catherine's here. I got to talk about my ephemera. So I've got this 1930s scrapbook. Unfortunately, the cover has fallen off of it. So I made that very clear in the eBay listing, but the rest of the pages are still intact. And it is a fantastic little cache of items from the 30s. So it's interesting because it got signed on the top with the owner, which was Mildred Salick in 1937. But you can see right on the front, we've got Wilson High School. It's a graduating ribbon, class of 1933. So right off the bat, first page, we've got something older than 1937. And then the Metropolitan Promenade program for 1935. But what's fascinating about this, I'm going to do the best I can to show this without tearing anything, is each page, some of them, they're double-sided, but there's like an Easter greeting on this one. There's a graduation program in this weird shaped envelope. That's actually an envelope that opens up. Like who designed that? We have birthday cards, more birthday cards. We've got a Valentine telegram, a Western Union telegram. Just drop me a line and say you'll be mine, sweet Valentine, Sidney Rappaport. And then somehow along like he signed it. What I found interesting is the telegram itself is not dated. So I don't know if that just wasn't a normal thing, but hopefully I can hold it in the way that you can see it. It's got the little lines of text, like the way the telegram would have been printed out at the time it was received. So it's just like super cool. I just don't see telegrams like that very often. And then a little Valentine napkin, Valentine greetings to my sweetheart. But then we get into the Christmas cards.
Oh man, those are gorgeous.
There are some. I'm going to try and like do this in a way, show a little bit closer. There are pages and pages of these Christmas cards, and they date. There's a variety of dates because there's one in here. I'll probably look at it differently. I'll show it to you. Got to find it. There's one in here dated 1943. And it's a military one, and it says that he just found out he's sixth in line and he's about to be shipped out. So it's like, kind of weird to suddenly see that now. Like this card fell out, but it's still from this page, so it's still here. There are a couple of pages that unfortunately the items have fallen out and they're gone. But most of these pages are full. And so you've got all of these great, it's like check the graphics on some of these Christmas cards. They're just gorgeous.
Yeah, they're incredible. And I love the Christmas cards that have the little bit of gold on them, like that one you're showing there.
They pressed some florals. There's 2 roses and some greenery in here. Again, some great graphics for some of the Christmas cards. There's some postcards in here. Some stuff from Wisconsin, postcards. There's like a little mail bag. More postcards. More Christmas cards. There's some World's Fair items in here. There's some postcards in here. There's some Chicago World's Fair from 1933. These are like dance cards and dance tickets from 1937. What's that?
I said, I love the one that says, hello, I am. Who are you?
Who are you? No fooling now. It's the April 1st dance, the April Fool's dance of 1937. Tickets to the St. Patrick's Day party. There's this little envelope here that has a ticket to a dance in it.
Oh my gosh, how cool is that?
It's just like these awesome graphics on this. I don't know. I haven't figured out what Graham Shiren's is, if that's the name of the dance or something.
And I love that pearlescent finish onto that piece.
Got more Christmas cards. Somewhere there's a Donald Duck card. I like this one in the bottom with the black and the red. Just the graphics. Yeah. More Christmas cards. Another military card. There's the Donald Duck card. And then the backboard is actually still in place. So I could not pass this up. The problem with eBay is you're only allowed 12 pictures. So I did the best I could to showcase kind of some variety, to show what was in there. And then I tried to itemize, itemize some of the specifics. Now, it's one of the fascinating things that I discovered, and it literally took me like 15 minutes to figure out what was wrong. One of the items was that Western Union telegram. So I had listed like some of the highlights of the thing. I said, the 1937, the 1943 military card, like all this stuff. And then I said Western Union Valentine. eBay picked that up, but I didn't know it at the time. eBay picked that up, recognized the text within my post, and thought I was accepting Western Union payment for eBay. No. So I'm getting this notification saying you have indicated this item is available for Western Union payment. Western Union does not protect you against whatever. It violates the structure of the eBay payment program. Please deselect that option and use eBay controlled payments only. I'm like, where is this option? I'm like, for those I'm doing it all on my phone. And I'm like, all right, I give up. So I went over to my computer, like, okay, so maybe there's just something I can figure out on my computer. Same thing, big warning right across the top. You cannot activate this. You cannot activate this item asking for Western Union payments. And so finally on my computer, I'm like, okay, I give up. I did help. I searched everywhere. I couldn't find anything. I found all the places that said you can't use Western Union, but I couldn't figure it out where to find it. And so I just went back to the main page, opened everything up, did a Control F to find Western, found it in 2 locations. One was in the banner at the top, and the second was in the text of the announcement. The minute I changed it to just say Telegram, the message went away. Like it somehow captured the fact I used the 2 words Western Union and assumed but I'm like, well, it is a Western Union Telegram. Like, why would I not be able to use those terms? But I couldn't. So it was, I was angry.
I'm sure I would have been frustrated.
It was so frustrating because, like, for those of you who are not eBay sellers, one of the really nice benefits of eBay is you can find similar listings. And so if you can find, like, I found a scrapbook that was a 1930s scrapbook from Macalester College, had some of the same contents in it. It sold for $250. And so I used that listing as my jumping off point, because then it had pre-selected all the little things. So then I'm like, okay, so that means but I did all this work. I'm like, man, did I pull an old listing that somehow was allowing Western Union? And now I can't, how do I untag it? I'm like, I don't understand. So the whole time I just felt like I was doing something wrong and I couldn't figure out how to do it. It was very, very frustrating, but it is live now. It will end. It did go live tonight, but I think it's 7 or 8 o'clock. So it'll be before my live sale next week, or I'll just have another chat next week too. So it's not going to be shown live. It's just an item that's out there, and hopefully I'll get some traction. I think I'm going to put some, I did a 4-minute video where I actually did a page by page of it. I might just go ahead and put that out on my YouTube channel, just be like, hey, this is out there. And then maybe put something shorter on Instagram. Or I don't know, is there a limit for how long reels can be on Instagram? Do you know?
Don't know. I think under a minute, because that's typically the ones that I see are that length. I
know I've had longer ones, but there is a limit. I just have to figure out what it is. So anyway,
there's a difference between reels and IGTV, and I don't know. I need to get better at it because the reels do well.
Yes. Those are all of that stuff. Yes, all of that stuff is at some level is going to be resold. I mean, the brooches that Katie got me and what I bought for myself, those are different. But for all the rhinestone brooches, those will all get resold. But the other stuff that I got this week is basically turning into Katie and my newest obsessions. Yep. Katie and I were chatting last night till after 2 o'clock in the morning. And I had a 7 a.m. meeting this morning. So I was not a happy person this morning. I'm not a happy person in the morning anyway, but we got completely tied up into our newest obsession. And this is a gift that Katie has already sent to me. It is a tobacco tag. And this happens to be a trunk down elephant tobacco tag, which I don't know how she found this because I did not. But we have become enamored with these tobacco tags. So I've already did a video. On a side note, one of my worst performing videos ever. But I did a video. I don't know. I guess we kind of tried to do a little post-mortem going, okay, why is this video performing so poorly? And I think the reason is because I was very upfront about it. I told people what the video was of. So if you didn't know what a tobacco tag was and didn't care to learn, there was no reason you would watch this video. So I couldn't and should have just done a big clickbait version of it and just what's Trusty's newest obsession or something like that. And then but then you'd watch the first 30 seconds of it and it wouldn't do me any good anyway. So it is what it is. But I did showcase these in a video so you can see a little bit more, but I'll try and show some of them because we've been buying these in mass.
Yep.
They are basically the general concept of a tobacco tag. Let me pull one out here. This is a Granger Twist, which happens to be an ad that I showed in the video. It is a little metal tag, and it has these little spikes on it. You can see it in my forehead. This one has 3 little spikes going on it. So in this particular case, this was the Granger Twist. This would have gone into a length of rope tobacco that was then curved onto itself into a twist. And this would have been hammered into the outer tobacco leaf that holds the whole thing together, so that when you purchased it, you knew you were purchasing the Granger twist. It is an absolutely huckster advertising item that became a necessity because in the late 1800s, when the first ones were invented in 1870s, what was happening until that time was the tobacco industry was growing after the Civil War. And so there was high quality tobacco coming in with marketing and advertising and branding, but then it would go into a store and it would get mixed with cheap tobacco. And so customers wouldn't know the difference. So the tobacconist might show the sign saying, hey, this is, what is it, Granger twist, but this is Granger, or I'm selling Granger twist. But what they might have actually done is mixed in cheaper filler so that it stretched out longer. So that was actually kind of the huckster item of it. And so what the companies that were trying to do the branding figured, well, we need to tag them. And it's literally a tag. So it would be hammered into the tobacco. They were also done in very long, flat. I compare them to like brownies. It'd be very, very compressed. Katie and I just discovered something. Those were called plugs of tobacco. And we just last night discovered a thin plug. And we each bought the box that they came in because they were so cool. So those would have there would been a long length. In some cases, they would be cut. And if you collect Tobacconiana, you might have tobacco tins that say cut plug. And so what it was the plug of tobacco would be cut into smaller sizes. Well, it would have been stamped with something in between each length so that the tobacconist knew how to cut it. And how would they cut their tobacco plugs, you might ask? My new favorite toy.
Patrick picked out something really cool.
I should not be as happy about this as I am.
Oh, that thing is sweet.
So this is a Brighton plug cutter, plug tobacco cutter with an imp, a thumbing nose imp on the top.
My gosh, he's marvelous.
So he just sits here and rides on the top. This entire length is, I think it's 12.5 inches. So it's not, just to give you some scale of size, like, my head, scale size, it's there. Some of them are much, much bigger. This is actually a relatively small one, so it'll be easier to display. But you can, if you look really closely, you can see there's kind of this little section down here. So you lift up the imp. It works on these gears. You can see the gears that are on the imp and the gears that are on the kind of the machete door. You would then slide the plug in there, and they were long and narrow, so they would slide into this space, and then you would push it down, and that's how you would cut the plug. So you would get your cut plug. So this would be sitting on the counter of the tobacconist, the general store, the chemist, whatever had it. Now, what's odd about this one is neither Katie nor I can find this brand in the tobacco. So we haven't found any tobacco tags. We haven't found any tobacco tins. We haven't found any tobacco advertising. And this happens to say Brighton on it. The only thing you find when you search Brighton tobacco is him. So what we don't know is this, like, did Brighton make this? And it was kind of like more of a generic plug cutter, like, so that if you carried multiple brands, you weren't, because a lot of them were branded, so they would say the specific brand that you're doing. This one evidently is not the actual tobacco brand. It might be the brand of the maker of the cutter, but he is just too cool to pass up.
He is.
He's not exceptionally rare. There's probably about 6 of them available. Some of them have been restored, so he's like a bright fire engine red, and it just looks super
like this one better.
This one, he's got some great patina to it, and it's not going to go with my Deco flower frogs and my Austrian turn of the century porcelain, but I am moving toward the dusty, crusty, idea of some of these tobacco items, and so I picked up him, and then because I am a sucker to try and consolidate freight, I then also picked up, for no reason other than I thought he was cute, a little bear. He's just, and like, I don't know what he's supposed to be holding. He has a little place in his paw to be holding something. When they listed him, they put 2 toothpicks and called him a toothpick holder. Like, what toothpick holder is only going to hold 2 toothpicks?
Maybe
So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy him as part of my Tobacconiana collection, and he's going to hold a match.
I just love that.
He's a little slippery. Like he is. These are grooves, but he's a little slippery. I did try and strike the match on him, but he's too slippery. There's a finish or something on here that's not rough enough to actually use him as a match striker. But it is kind of what he looks like, and it's not like I'm trying to strike matches off of a little stone bear anyway. But so he got tucked into the box. So basically, I bought him with shipping was free because I paid for the shipping for that big heavy plug cutter, and he got tucked in there. And actually, to give fair credit, this is the same place that I got that Peruvian silver brooch. So the brooch and the bear were tucked into that box and basically didn't cost me anything because I paid for the shipping on the plug cutter. So,
which is just fantastic. That plug cutter is awesome. And I saw someone, Cheryl was mentioning about cigar tip cutters, and I have seen those too, Cheryl. The guillotine style ones. There's also something called a V cut, and there's different cuts for cigars. Not sure that would have been. That's a rather large style cutter, so I think that definitely is for the tobacco plugs. But you can get those. You are right about that.
And I did look at them because trying to figure out where this collection is going to go. It needs to be a place for everything and everything in its place. So I do think I know where it's going to go. I couldn't do some of the big cutters. I mean, some of them are literally 2 feet long. Like the handle is massive, and because they were designed to stand out, they would be bolted to the top of the counter at the general store. So you would see this massive with the advertising piece on it. Like, so it served its purpose, but I don't have a place for it. So the fact that this one's only 12 inches long, it is heavy, but it's only 12 inches long. Like, that's going to make it a lot easier to display. But while I was searching before I found him, I found some of those cigar cutters. And so most of them are handheld, and some of them are beautiful. And because they're designed really to nip off just the end of the tobacco where it's going to go into your mouth, so that the smoke flows, or you can pull the aroma through, because normally it'd be blocked by the tobacco. So they can be very decorative, but I don't think I'm going to build into that collection. Now that I have him, he's going to kind of be the master, the ring master of my collection. And then we're just trying to figure out different ways to display. So this happens to be how these were shipped. So they're pinned into a piece of styrofoam, but you can see some of the art on these are amazing.
So that one in the hand. Oh,
yeah, so it's bird in hand. The little tiny red one just says Finzer, so that would have been the brand. Mechanics Delight. Can't quite figure out what that one says. 5 something.
9 or 5. I'm not sure.
And then some of them are just plain metal. So Loriard is the company that invented these. Vinco. I actually just think I just bought another Vinco one, and I'm getting another Vinco one as part of a lot. This was some more that came in.
And I just dropped one.
Oh, don't lose them because they disappear.
They're tiny.
So we've got a Thrasher. You kind of like X marks the spot. TaylorMade. Like, some people, you might actually have heard that brand, where that comes from. But some of them are die cut. So like, I've got the little donkey, Brown's Mule.
Oh, he's amazing.
And so what I'm also waiting for, it hasn't shown up yet, is the Brown's Mule. Oh, there he goes. There's 2 versions of it. One is die cut with the opening at the bottom, and this one does not have the opening at the bottom. But there's also, so these would have been pushed into blocks of tobacco depending on how they're formed. But I haven't received it yet. It is actually taking a very circuitous route. I purchased a Brown's Mule tobacco mold. It was shipped from California over a week ago. It has now crossed through 6 states. It has been checked in 6 different states. It is moving in the right direction, and it has entered Illinois, but it still hasn't made it to me. And what it is, it's a 12 by 12 solid piece of metal with the Brown's Mule in, I think they're 3 inch by 3 inch squares or 4 inch by 4 inch squares. I can't remember how many are across the size. And so what they would have done for those is they would have put all of the tobacco into a mold, a square mold of that same size, put this metal shield on top of it, and then pressed it down. So now the top of that plug had the mold of that mule in it. And then you still would have gotten one of the little tags to go along with it too. So like they just did some really cool things to really market. Again, so I just feel it's a total Huckster thing. Oh, thank you. That's exactly what I bought. And so they're not particularly rare. I think I only paid like $8 for it. Shipping was more than it was. I think the shipping cost more than the actual piece. And it'll just make a nice backdrop for some of what we're doing. And we determined that magnets stick to these. So we're thinking like I might use that. I might, stick them as magnets onto that square. Who knows? I picked up tobacco papers.
So I think those are so cool.
RJ Reynolds tobacco papers. I just checked that. I mean, just like I don't know if Catherine's still here, but when you get into these fonts, this is the era that I'm love. Like we're basically in the 1890 to 1910, just based on the graphics. This is probably a little bit later, maybe 1920s to 1930s, but the black and the gold.
Oh,
so you've got those
fonts.
Yeah, so it's like they're just, and it's what's fun about this, as opposed to my Austrian porcelain or my Deco flower frogs or my half of the other collections I have, they're cheap.
Yep.
You can actually amass a fairly large collection without spending a fortune. Absolutely. So what Katie and I just purchased is a thin plug. Okay, there we go. Let's give Katie full screen. So the brand, and we will just try not to be demonetized on this. The brand is Climax. They named it, not us. And so it's a 12.5-inch long tin. And you can see on the side that she was showing, it says right on there that it was a 3-inch by 12-inch plug. And they sold 5 of them. So they were super thin plugs that would have stacked on top of each other and fit in this really long tin right there. So what we're each buying them for is we're going to put those and maybe use the lid if it's magnetic. So it says Climax thin plug, 5 cuts, 3 by 12, 7 ounces each. So it's, beautiful. Hers is a little bit more rusty and crusty. Mine has a little bit better condition on the top. But if we display them with the top open, it's the inside that matters and the front. And we're thinking that like when you lift the lid, there you go. And that's one of the Climax ones. I also have a couple Climax, but they're on the other table. We can either magnetize them to the inside of the lid. I'm thinking about using those metal pin flower frogs and kind of putting those across the bottom and maybe putting little tobacco coupons, and there's tobacco tax stamps that you used to buy. Just like all these antique pieces of ephemera. Like I already have a collection of cigarette cards. You can buy them and put them down there, and they would just like kind of, be something of interest while you're looking at the tags. You should have all this ephemera sitting there, thinking maybe putting burlap at the bottom so that it kind of covers. But it'll be the first time I do like a standalone vignette, and it'll just be a vignette of Tobacciana from somebody who's never smoked. I'm
very excited about this.
But they're total Huckster things. They're fun to collect because you get into, and some of them you end up with some condition issues. But this one, hopefully it'll show up. This is one that I just purchased, but it's like it should be in Katie's collection, because if you look really, really closely, what this is showing is a hand showing a deck of cards.
Oh my gosh, that one is amazing, and I need it.
Exactly. So it's like this one, unfortunately, I think it's old Sledge, and Katie has a Sledge tobacco tag, which is ironic. But this one, for whatever reason, uses the there we go. So it's the brand, but this one's using playing cards as their logo. But you can see like the word old is almost missing completely because this is literally 100 years old. I'm still waiting for my book. The book is supposed to show up next week. I ordered it a couple weeks ago. Oh yeah, the bow tie is a cool one.
Yeah, but see, this one's got some condition issues too. I mean, these are old, but this one's a silk tie, and you can see it's worn off there. And Patrick was talking about the die cut ones, and I think this one's cool. Patrick, I don't think you have this one yet, but this one is Golden Slipper. I bought it in a lot. And look at this one. So it's sister, but it's not die cut. So I love the font on this. This is Golden Slipper here, and then you have Golden Slipper here. And I bought this one. It does have some condition issues, but check this out. It's not playing cards, but it is dice. And look at that. The dice.
That is so cool.
There's another version of this that I just won in a lot, which I'm so excited about. I bought 46 tobacco tags in a lot. I won the auction. I was so excited.
And you paid such a great price. I was totally jealous on it too. I'm like, oh man, she got a great purchase.
Which is not even like $2 a tag. So, yep. And the parrot one, I got this one too. And it's rough, but man, it is cool. It is called Talker Plug Tobacco, and it's a little parrot. He is fantastic. I mean, look at this one too. King Bolt. I mean, it's really so cool. A bolt. My favorite, though, Patrick found for me, and then I had to buy it, is the little pug. So yes, there is a pug.
Yeah, that one you need. That one. You have one that literally has your name on it, but you desperately needed the plug one.
Yeah, this one's cool too because it says Katie. So, and it's interesting because I've been trying to attribute these to some of the tobacco tins that I collect, and I do not know of a Katie tobacco, but researching some of these old tobacco brands are pretty hard. Now, Patrick says that he was maybe starting a collection of the tax stamps, which I would love to also start because that's the best way to date an old tobacco tin or a tobacco product is the tax stamp. If it has a date on it, it's prior to 1930. Now, in 1930, they did Series A tax stamps. They issued those from 1930 to 1950. And basically, it's Series A, but also Series 100. So when you see 100 on it, you know that's 1930. If it's Series 101, it's 1931, et cetera, up till like 1950. So that's a great way to date the tins, and it's kind of cool to find the tins that correlate with these little tags.
And I think and this is where Katie has a head start on me, is that because she already has priced some of the tins, or she knows which ones are the more desirable ones or the harder to find. There is some correlation to those. Like we found one tag, it was called, what was it called? Knapsack, I think you said.
Yeah.
That the tin is super, super expensive. And the actual tobacco tag, which is that one right there, it's not expensive, but it's more expensive than most of the ones that we've been picking up. So it's basically one of those cases where I need to think about whether I'm going to buy that one. So a lot of what we've been doing so far has been buying in lots. Yeah.
Yeah, the tin is gorgeous. I mean, this is like
it really is beautiful. And then the other, I actually just am looking to pick up a ephemera cigarette card or tobacco card on specifically for Newsboy. What we found is that they were selling these, you would get these little cards, kind of like cigarette cards, but you could then trade them in for illustrated posters of women's fashion. And they were the Newsboy brand. And so these tobacco tags are not identical. They have a slightly different font. The text is almost the same, but you can see there are differences. So it's kind of like when I got these as two separate lots. Like, oh, Katie, I'm going to have two Newsboys. You can have one of them, or well, we're going to trade them. Well, then I got them. I'm like, no, they're both mine. They are not identical. They are similar, but they're not identical. So it's like at some point we could probably, as we start finding, like this is where I need to go through, and Catherine go through some of the, the turn of the century ephemera, the newspapers and the magazines probably are advertising some of these things, and you could probably figure out like the horse one that she just showed. At some point that ad changed, that horse changed. They're similar, but they're different. So
yeah, they're different graphics. So when I got these, I was like, oh, Patrick and I can trade. Same with the golden slipper. And then like Patrick said, he got them. They're different. And nope, we're going to keep them. And so probably like Patrick's saying, you could find advertisements for this particular graphic or logo, and it would kind of help date these. Now, I think, did these end around the 1930s, Patrick? Is that what we found?
Yeah, the book that I'm getting, there's really only one book that's available, and it's dated from 1870s it's either to 1930 or the 1930s. So I haven't gotten the book yet, so I'm not sure exactly when, but at some point they did fall out of favor. they found other ways to protect it. Basically once you got past World War I and then you got into the Depression, they weren't going to use the metal, for all of that. But I'm all about these because basically, yes, some of them might be technically not antiques, but everything that I'm finding that's supporting these are patents of 1870s and 1880s. Like that's my thing. Like I'm loving getting into that era. And then, just finding little things like this one. I showed this in the video that I dropped. Like, this is beautiful. And the same thing. I'm like, oh, hey, I'm going to get another Navy one. And it turned out this was a different size. So they actually made 2 different sizes of this. And I don't know why. And this one, I still have to figure out what did that say? So it's like save something tags. And then I believe the last line is for something presents. Because for whatever reason, they created catalogs that you could get these coupons or maybe the tags themselves. You would trade them in. The catalogs were always called presents. Like they literally, that's like, so if you had, Union Club tobacco, you could have a catalog of Union Club presents instead of gifts or premiums or whatever. And it was literally a catalog that would say, send in 50 coupons and you can get a switchblade. Send in 1,000 coupons and you can get a shotgun. So you would collect these, and eventually they became paper. But some of these I think would be difficult to save 1,000 of these. Particularly when they have the little spikes on them. Like that's a lot to deal with.
Also, it's kind of ingenious because it gets more people smoking, and it's
just like the cigarette cards. Like you have to complete a set. You have to keep buying. You can't just buy any tobacco. You need to buy this tobacco because this is how you're going to get enough to get like. And in some cases, I don't know if I've got them. I might have them on my phone. One of the items I'm looking to purchase right now, it is you could trade them in. It's again like you shouldn't make the assumption that tobacco is just for men because there definitely were marketing for women as well. But this one, the brand and the front of the cover looked very masculine. But then when you got to the back of it, you could turn them in for stockings. So I think it was one of those cases like the men were collecting these and then they would turn them in for a gift for either for their official spouse or their partner on the side. You'd be able to get this little freebie. And so it's just fascinating that they would have all these different things. And of course I can't find it right now, which is unfortunate, but there's just all kinds of ephemera. Like this one, I'm still debating whether I'm going to buy this because the price is starting to go up, but I'm sorry. He's a huckster.
He's a
he's wearing a little hat and everything. So I was like, but the other 2 that are in there, I already have. So it's like, I'm not sure I want the duplicates. So that's the problem with buying them in lots, because then at some point you end up, that's how we're going to trade. And Nate, whether he likes it or not, I see Nate join the chat. Hey, Nate, he is going to have a collection of these, whether he wants them or not. Don't polish them, Nate, because all the artwork will disappear.
Yeah, they can't be polished. Maybe the solid metal ones.
Yeah, be selective in what you go to polish, Nate.
This one had this was a good lot because it had, so I've never seen the golden rule. So it had the golden rule, which I had to have because I kind of have a theme of, hardware related ones, which I think is cool. And it had the top hat and the police, but I'm sure there are duplicates. This gentleman didn't do the best job of taking photographs.
No, he did a horrible job in his photographs.
That kind of helped me because I don't think people could see what they were. And so since I've just started the collection, I was willing to take the gamble just to get 2 that I knew I really wanted and enjoy opening all the other ones when they came. So 46 of them. I did notice here is the other dice. So while I have the die cut dice, I now will have the really cool dice. And I just think he is awesome. I think there's a little bit of damage to him. These do the little tines or spikes on the end do break off. But man, he is cool. And I've never seen that one. So Patrick and I have been trying to figure out how we determine what are more scarce than others. I mean, I don't like to use the word rare. None of us really do when it comes to vintage because I think it gets overused. But when it comes to the tags, there are definitely some that seem to be more common than others. And I'm trying to figure that out in correlation with my 10s, if they have the same scarceness as some of the 10s or not.
Download tobacco nostalgia. And Rim plays new wind. Yeah, that's what the chat's for. Go ahead, and you're in the chat, and if you're asking something we don't want you to ask, the moderator might delete it, but we're family friendly, so just keep that. But this is what I was talking about. So this one actually says right on there, catalog of presents. This was issued in 1914 for Frischmuth's tobacco. Now, I have not come across a Frischmuth's tobacco tag yet, but you could get an H&R Premier caliber weapon for 1,000 coupons.
That's a lot of tobacco.
That is a lot of tobacco. Well, actually, one of the pieces, I think I had it in my video, so I think I don't have the art anymore, but I found it was a little ad in an article that really explained a lot about how the tobacco tag industry, how that worked. But it was a little ad for a horseshoe tobacco, which that was one of the first ones I got. So that's actually already, I'm flat laying them on my Picard gold porcelain because they look great against the gold. But so that's not accessible, but it was literally a cutout shape of a horseshoe. On the ad, it said the horseshoe brand, that brand had issued over 100 million of those tags. So there were literally hundreds of millions of these tags, but they're basically metal ephemera. They weren't designed to stick around. Why would you keep these? So they're not rare, but I've yet to find them in the wild. The flea markets here have not opened back up yet because of the winter, but I've gone to traditional antique shops and even industrial themed antique shops. Nobody has them. And a couple of people, when I asked, they didn't even know what they were. So it's like, I don't think they're rare. And if you get them in lots, you can get them for, between 1 and 3. The first several I got were 2. The last couple lots I got, I'm really averaging more like 3. But Katie, I think the pug one cost you what, 12?
Yeah, I think the pug was 12. So there's a few that I've paid up for. And my kind of reasoning is I do research. So like I look for this one, and if I don't find it in the solds or I don't see more of them, even in lots, I'm like, okay, that one in my mind, so far from what I can find, seems to be a little harder. And since it's pug, I was like, come on, I got to pay up for that. I paid, I think, $11.99 for this one, and I couldn't find it anywhere. The keyhole. I haven't
seen that again.
So cool. And, so you run the risk of wondering, okay, are you going to find them again? Same with the Katie. Like, I never saw another one. And the trunk can elephant. When the minute I saw it, I couldn't add that to my cart fast enough. I'm like, I don't even know if there are more out here, but it doesn't seem like I've seen. And I had been through pages of lots because I was totally obsessed with these. And I'm like, yeah, this one has to come home.
And they're absolutely addictive. They're cool. And it's also, this is where you get into some interest. Not that anybody's going to, I'm not going to not buy from someone, but you have to look at it. These are so lightweight. They're going to go, you can put them in a regular envelope and put a stamp on it, and they're going to ship. You could probably ship a dozen for less than an ounce. But I'm buying, I have some in my cart right now that are they're being priced at a reasonable individual price, but then with a shipping price of $5.71 from here within the United States. That's like, okay, great. I'm not one tag is not, even if you send it priority mail, I guess if you send it priority mail, but it's marked as first class. So it's in some cases, that's unfortunately how some sellers make their money. Yeah, that's a cool one.
Yeah, it is. Patrick likes the globes. So I do have this big, big lever. I've got another one for Patrick, so he'll get.
Yeah, I love that one with the globe on it.
And do you have the other pins one yet? So they have 2 versions of the pins.
Yes, I've got that one, and then I've got the yellow rectangle with just the drawing of the pens.
Oh, cool.
And then I've got several. Again, these are getting back into probably 1880s, with that font, Myrtle, that one. There's a couple that just are using that font. This one I thought was pretty. It says California.
Oh, I love the font on that.
And it's like the silver on the black. And that's exactly it, Michelle. It's like trading cards. Like this is going to be a case where, particularly as we continue to buy in lots, you're going to get duplicates. So that's where this would be, Nady may fight it, but he is going to have a collection of these because then it's going to be the only item that the three of us all collect at the same time. We all respect each other's collections, but we don't all get into each other's areas. Like I don't have a Stuart Devlin collection of silver. I don't own a Marrow Scoop collection, nor will I ever. But that's great. That's Nady's thing. They're not going to have a collection of Austrian porcelain. That's my thing. Katie's got her vinyl. That's her thing. But this is kind of, and they're so inexpensive, and it's great. We can pick them up and say, hey, Katie, do you have this one? Oh, hey, I'll trade you for that one. And it's just like trading cards. And absolutely, there you go.
Fantastic.
There you go, Nate. Peer
Peer
pressure.
pressure. You need
We're
it.
here for you.
We're gonna find one that features like Wedgwood or something on it, and you're just gonna get
There you go.
enamored in these.
Absolutely. And
And
it's
they're
one of those,
little.
at some point you are going to find a graphic, maybe we'll find a Kiwi, or we'll find something that would be more representative. It's going to be something that's going to but he's way waffling because we got him on the site. He's like, oh my God, that's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. He's just like, I don't need another collection. It's like, but they're small. They don't take up that much room.
See, I have a bunch of them, and right now I've got them in my glass New York City ashtray. I'm not going to keep them here. I think I'm going to magnetize them to that Climax container that Patrick and I both bought. But I mean, look, these are, I don't know, I probably have at least 20 in here, and they barely take up any room. So you could have a whole collection of these. And as you can see, I've now got all of the ones that I currently have in this little thing, and they don't even fill up the whole ashtray. So, I mean, they're just great because they're little. So, Nate, you can easily put that. Now, with them being little, like Patrick said, they do get lost. So, keep that in mind. So you're not scouring the floor with a magnet looking for them.
So this, I was looking for mine. Wait a minute. Come on. So the ones that I just showed have not been displayed yet, but that's what I've done. So that is actually a Picard all over gold tray that is sitting at the base of my television. So they're flat laid. And what we're finding is there's certain things, like you can see how many yellow and red ones there are. We don't know why that is the common color. Why there's so many that are in that color combination. And so that's even something we're starting to look at to say, okay, well, I don't have any green ones, or this one's kind of cool because it is a color that we don't actually have. And then just figuring out, there's also, getting into, question marks about, I have a couple that say coon on them, but they say red coon. And when you see a full-fledged advertisement, it has an actual raccoon on there. We've got this one, which has an African style, Black Maria or Black Mariah. These are getting into are these culturally insensitive? It's one I just got as part of a lot. But it's we want to be sensitive to that. Some of them trying to be, some of the illustrations they did, you've got somebody chasing after a donkey. It appears to be an individual of color, but I don't think it's being represented. I don't think it's trying to say anything racially insensitive. So there's just a lot of variety, and you can get ones that fit. If I get another ship one, maybe one will head off to Sam Doyen for dining at sea. It's okay, it's not really food or menu related, but he likes anything doing with cruise ships. So we'll do a military ship.
And that's the cool thing about these is the graphics on them are endless. So if you don't necessarily collect Tobacciana, there might be one you have a pug at home. Maybe you want the pug one. They're just so diverse. It's really cool. And that's the thing that I find fascinating about the old tobacco products. And what really got me into it is you see the pens, for example. It's advertising tobacco, but why the brand is called Pens it really doesn't make a lot of sense to the fact that it's tobacco, but as a marketing standpoint, it's clever because people will remember a common everyday object associated with a simple name. So, oh yeah, I want pens. And the need for tobacco products in general to be kept in cans or tins kept them fresh. But also the invention of offset lithography in the 1800s was really big, and it allowed some of these tins to get beautifully decorated. And when you had a general store or a tobacconist that had a million brands, people needed something that would stand out, make their product stand out a little more. So coming up with some of these names with these beautiful images really did help people, look at a shelf at a quick glance and say, oh yeah, I want the pens, or I want, because they like the graphic. And I think that's clever. So I'm really drawn to the ones that like the golden slipper or the hinge that have a lot to do, or king bolt that have this kind of like common everyday object with a really cool little name and design. And a lot of times when people see the Pins tobacco, they see just the tin and they think pin nibs would have come in it, but nope, it's actually a tobacco product. It says on the other side. So it's pretty cool. I'm fascinated with these, and there's so many things Patrick and I are discovering about them, and then new questions that are coming up. I'm very interested in the solid metal ones versus the colored ones and why that would have been.
And this is one of the other things that Katie and I kind of started stumbling across is if you look at this one, it just is a font. It just says autumn. It's not really showing up that well. But if you look at just the way the design is, it's not centered in the circle. And if I ever find another autumn one, it's entirely possible it will be centered in. And it's one of those cases where you start getting into how these were produced. So you figure this was a regular piece of tin that they did the offset lithography to create an entire sheet of these autumn, or the fancy boy or whatever it was, horse ones. They printed the entire sheet at once. Then they applied the die cut machine to actually cut them all out. So if the sheet that they printed on was not centered exactly, maybe the upper left-hand corner was fine, but as you started shifting down, you started falling off of the center. And so in some cases, like I have no problem having this in my collection, but if I ever get a duplicate, I will replace it and have a slightly higher one. And if Katie doesn't have this one, guess what, Katie? She can have it. And then when she gets a better one, she can move it on. So it's like it goes into that quality versus quantity. At some point, you're going to have these really cool pieces, but it's like I've got one that says, it's in my display already. It says 3 black crows, but the number 3 is just falling off of the edge of the badge. I just bought one in a lot, and that one is perfectly centered. So I'm like, okay, that first one's going to be toast, and it's going to be replaced by the new one. So it's even things like they're not errors. It's like they were like minted and there was a mistake and there's something more valuable. Yeah. It was just like these things. If you're making 100 million of them in less than 10 years, you're cutting these puppies out fast. So you're just making buckets of them. So yeah, so Buying Space just asked, unlike a lot of other things, the mistakes wouldn't necessarily be more valuable, but it doesn't also make them less valuable either. They're going to be, they might be a little bit less desirable, but as long as the full brand is still on there, that's what people are going to be looking for. So like the autumn one, you could still read all of autumn. So that that's the brand, particularly if that's what you're trying to collect. But this is the only Tabacciana that I'm collecting at this point. So I'm kind of doing a reverse where Katie's like has her collection of the tins. So now it's like, okay, well, she knows what tin she has. Which ones can she find tobacco tags to match? And it's actually harder than we thought.
Yep. And I'm looking at some of the tobacco tags, like the dice one. I'm like, okay, is there a 10 out there? I need this in my life. And some of them I'm coming across, like the knapsack. Okay, the 10 is like $500. It is gorgeous. Would I ever pay $500 for a 10? Absolutely not. But I might pay $9 to have the little knapsack thing, the little tobacco tag that goes along with it, so it's really cool kind of researching these and finding them. And I'm going to look in my tins book because I want to know if there's a dice one out there, and that one with the playing cards. There are several playing card tobacco tins that I do have, like Cope's Tobacco. They made something called High Card, and it's got the little playing cards on it. but I'm curious about some of the other ones. So it's just a fun world to research. And like Patrick said, you can endlessly trade these because you're always going to get a better one, or you're going to get one that's centered. When I bought the Climax, I had actually looked online at other Climaxes, and there were several ones that were cheaper, but they were off-centered. So that was enough for me to like, oh no, I'll pay 50 cents more or whatever to get this one.
One also I find interesting that she's got the Climax and the spiker up vertically. Mine, they're off to the sides.
Oh, that's interesting, Patrick.
So it's like again, this just would have been it's how the die cut it out. So this just must have been done in a different generation because your ink was a little bit blockier than mine. So it's like there's a little bit of a difference. There's a smaller version of it, which I don't have here, I don't think. But like the red is pretty common. So I think the reason buying space commented. So people are not familiar. There is a very valuable stamp that was printed with an upside down. There you go, Flying Jenny. It's either there was only like they're under 100 or under 10. There was very few of them that were out there. So that's what made those valuable because there aren't that many. These are made in such bulk that the only reason they're desirable at this point is because they're still around after 100 years, but they're not necessarily considered printing errors. If you found one that had Climax spelled wrong,
yeah, maybe
that would probably make more money. Like that would be like a true error. And I can't imagine they would have made a lot of those, again, just based on the way you're probably punching 100, if not 200 or 300 at a time. That silk screen would have been all the same. So you would assume it would be correct. But, at some point, somebody was doing all of the typesetting. Somebody could make a mistake. So you just never know.
That Flying Jenny's interesting because if you ever get a chance to visit I love the Town Talk, the National Postal Museum in DC, it's free. So I highly recommend it. It is the best 4 hours I ever spent in a museum in DC. It was fascinating. And they had a whole exhibit of the Flying Jenny. And what's interesting to me is one of the people that actually helped kind of drum up a little bit more of these stamps, because there's not that many. I don't remember exactly the final total, but the guy heard from a buddy of his when the Flying Jenny came out that there was a mistake. And so he ran to the post office to buy the Flying Jenny stamps. And the postmaster saw him buying them, and he was rushing over to tell the guy, no, sorry, you're going to have to return them. You can't have these. They're a misprint. And the guy ran out of the post office with them, and people tried to chase him down. And he is the one that got a full sheet of Flying Jenny stamps, and they have sold for millions, I think, in auction. Some of them this guy has. I mean, it's some huge number. I don't remember the amount, but they do have one on display in the museum, and it is very cool to see.
So then we go in reverse because this is a cigar label. So Moonshine Twist has a howling werewolf on it. And then you've got the Big Wolf label. So like those are the types of things people would be hunting for those. And it's just like Angela was asking where I got the Huckster dude. Yeah, we've only been trying to collect these for literally weeks, like 3, maybe 4. Like we have not been doing this very long, so we're in a very small capture. But in all of that time, looking at what's sold on WorthPoint, everything, I've never seen another one of the Huckster dudes. So it's kind of like it's currently being sold in a lot of 3. It already has 3 bidders on it. It's not going for too much right now. It ends in a couple of days. So I've got it where I'm watching it. But it's a case where I already have the other 2 in the lot. So I literally would be paying whatever I pay, I'm paying for the Huckster dude, because the others, yes, I could maybe trade them. But one of them is the Navy one, which I think I now have 4 of those. And the other one's the Black Mariah, which I have at least 3. So kind of like I'm already at the point where I'm going to already fulfill Nate's not wanting it and Katie wanting it. I don't necessarily need a whole other one. So what we might do, and this is Katie and I talked about this, that if people are getting excited about it, or if they're intrigued by it, or if they like Tobackiana, we're even considering like getting to at some point where we create like a little collector's club, and maybe we can mail, okay, everyone mail 5 to this person, and that person mails 5 to the next person, and we just kind of like just spread them out, and then just not like a chain letter. Like we want to make it fun and hopefully everyone would do their part. I'm still missing the trusty travelers from the dachshund thing. I don't want to bring that up. There's still 9 of those missing. So it's like we want to make sure that we wouldn't be putting the $100 ones in there. And some of them are going for $100. Like, so there are some that are super highly priced.
Yeah.
Are they worth it? At this point, we don't know. But clearly they're more desirable, or at least less common, that somebody felt that they could ask that much and feel like it's a reasonable request. But some people are not reasonable. So
no, like I saw one of the Climax ones going for $100. Well, those seem to be pretty much a dime a dozen.
Exactly.
The round one. So you got to kind of look and see what ones. Now, the dice one, I have never seen another one of these.
Nope.
I saw the big one in the lot I bought, and that big one in one other lot that was going for like $90. And it was a good deal because it was like,
I want this one. I've never seen it, but I want it. It was got a howling werewolf on it. I mean, that sounds awesome.
I've seen the Moonshine Twist one, Patrick. It's cool.
Okay.
But so I don't know, but I can say from what I've seen, and I've scrolled through a lot of eBay, that I have not seen this one again. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to determine at this point, but I would love to know more about that. You know, what I could pay up, what I would pay up for. And paying up for me has been like $9 to $12. We're not talking hundreds of dollars here.
So the tobacco tags were put into they were primarily, and this again is based on like literally 2 or 3 different articles that I've been able to find. I'm hoping the book will give a little bit more history, but from what I've seen is primarily the idea is those plugs would get made to be sold at a store level. So you could buy either the thin plug or the long plug. It'd be a long plug, like 12 inches long. And you would then either break that off or shred, like crumble it, and then put it in your own little tobacco pouch. So the tobacco starts is a certain style, and that's one of the areas that Katie probably knows more than I do. Is I think there's shredded, there's different names for how the tobacco is made that still contains to today. You can buy tobacco in different types. The twists starts as rope tobacco, and those are all handmade. There's actually a really interesting video of somebody that's trying to make rope tobacco now, and it was fascinatingly difficult because basically they just think of it as a very long sausage. So they created it, but then they had to try and wrap the tobacco leaf around the outside of it and to keep it tight. So you had this whole thing. So the twist typically would take a long length of that sausage, the rope, and then twist it upon itself to basically keep it together. And so like the Granger twist, which happens to be this one, there was a picture of that in the video that I did. This was embedded at the center of the twist. So it was marked. So then when the rope tobaccos, whether it was twisted or just sold length, what people would do is they would have that and they would pull it out. They would chew it directly. So it wasn't for a pipe. It wasn't to roll into a cigarette or a cigar. You would use it as chewing tobacco. And the first versions of these, invented by Lorillard, they put them under that outer layer of tobacco leaf. So what was happening was when these were brand new, people would take a bite, they would suddenly chew into the tag and they were chipping teeth.
Ow.
So Lorillard gets credited for the first version of them, but they're also made fun of because they were trying to kill people. And so another company came up with the idea, we'll just put them on the outside. And so you had to have, I think the initial ones didn't have the spikes. So they literally just sat in the tobacco, and that's why the leaf had to hold it in place. So the next company came up with the idea of the spike. So then you see it and you wouldn't chew it. So it could be used as chewing tobacco. And the other thing I ran across a lot, I've sold some Tobacciana, selling it, not collecting it, you'll hear cut plug. And so that's that big long brick that has been cut. And you weren't on, I already moved it, but you weren't on earlier when I showed my tobacco cutter, the plug cutter. So you might have had that in your own home, or you would go to the store and say, okay, I want a plug, cut it for me. And so then they would cut it down to the size, and then you might have those lunch pail tins, some of those bigger tins, then that would store your stack of cut plugs. And then you would grind that up or whatever you end up doing, moving it into a tobacco pouch.
Yep. And this one is interesting because this is the big lot I just bought. And now that you say that, Patrick, This one doesn't have spikes, the crown, and I'm wondering if it would have just sat inside.
That could be.
It could very
You
well.
also didn't showcase that climax one underneath it, which is one of my absolute favorites, the cognac one.
This one is cool. It is cognac cocktails climax. It's Loriards again, and it is just cool. It is really an amazing piece. Again, this guy didn't take the best photos, but check out the cannonball. That is just fantastic. There is another one that actually has the cannonballs themselves on it. I believe it's yellow. And then look at this one, Steamboat.
Yeah, I really liked that one.
Font on these are just amazing. Now, this one, there are several versions of this one. It's Loriards as well, and it has different flags. So this one has the American and the French flag. And Patrick, were you seeing ones that had a British flag on it? I don't remember.
I saw one that had 2 French flags. It didn't have the American flag on it. And I also found a trade card, a Victorian trade card that had that splendid brand, and it had the flags all over it. So there's something with that splendid brand that has something to do with those flags. So like, again, there's just all kinds of opportunities for research. And I want Katie to actually answer this question from Nate, because she's a slightly different perspective on this than I do, which I am fascinated by, about the spikes. So why don't you share your idea or your opinion of collecting items that have the spike versus don't have the spikes?
So that is a good question, Nate. And I am kind of funny about this. I look for the ones with the spikes. Now, if they clearly didn't have a spike, like that crown one, obviously I don't think it would have. It doesn't seem broken off. You can usually tell that they're broken off on the edge because they're rough. It's not a clean break. There's something that would have been there. I don't usually pick it up. And the reason why, and this is just weird, I have not figured out if other brands or products use these. I'm assuming for now that they are only for tobacco, but if they were used for something else and the spikes were broken off, what I'm trying to figure out is I don't know if they were used for anything else. So to me, I want the spikes because to me, that is something that clearly would have gone into the tobacco itself. So I am a spike person. Some people may not be. Now, there's been some exceptions I don't have here, but in this big lot I bought, that dice one that has this graphic on it, let me find it. I can tell that the top has been broken off. See where there's like a little nub? The bottom, it looks like unless they're folded under. Now, that is something I've run across too, and I don't know, Patrick, if you have, but this Stronghold one, I don't know if it was folded under because that's how it was stored or the person did it, but it's folded under. So some of them are like that, and I don't know if like people do that for safety or if because when they were stuck down in there, it got kind of hammered under. I'm not sure, but
also, like, this is an example. This was how I purchased these. So in the photograph, these were already pushed into this little dimensional piece of foam. So at first glance, it looks like none of these have their spikes, but it's because they're all, like, you can see one on the big kick one, but you can see it kind of off to the side. But in general, it's because they've been folded down specifically to go into that, which is an ingenious way to then ship them, which is what they did, that they held them. But I prefer, that's one you haven't seen yet.
ooh.
So I prefer to have the spikes flat. I mean, I don't necessarily have an issue whether they're there or not, but I definitely want them flat because my eventual use for displaying these is going to be up against something else. So if the spikes are folded back, they're not going to be able to lay flat against anything. Like if I put a magnet on it or whatever, like they need to be flat. And I'm concerned if I bend these back and forth, and I did do that for a couple of the ones that came off of the styrofoam, when they fold flat, like I don't want to fold them back again because at some point they're going to snap off. And that's why some of them are probably missing, is they simply got pushed back and forth. And then some of them, which I don't know if it's reversible, like my Thrasher one, it's what she showed, it's been actually pushed back on itself. And so that's going to be a lot harder to bring back out without possibly damaging the metal.
And you can see how thin these are. I mean, some of them aren't as thin, but this sledge one, like I don't want to bend it too much. but you can see there is some give to that. Now
Right.
this one, the golden slipper, well, it is kind of solid. I mean, it's still flexible, but it
True.
is more solid than that.
Yeah. So some of them are super small. Like there's
I love.
one. This is my smallest.
Ooh, that one's
The
really little.
Finzer. So if I can compare that to like the Apple one is fairly standard size. So I can kind of see
Oh, I
the
like the
size
apple.
difference between those two. So you got the size in, and like, so the tabs are almost the same size as the actual piece that's on there. But you're right. The navy one is fairly solid. That one, those are a little bit harder to push back, but one has been snapped off. So there's one on one side, but it looks like the other one was bent off. Probably not on purpose, probably by accident. But this is the only one I have that has anything on the back. Now it is one of the largest ones, so there's actually room to print something. But even some of the other large ones, there's nothing printed on the back.
Yeah, this one, the Lynx, doesn't have anything. I don't have any. Okay, the big round. Now these are my biggest round ones. Is the globes, the Uncle William, and it doesn't have anything on the back.
The one I lost was the battle axe.
That one is cool, but it is little.
Yeah, no, like that's why that one, the one I just showed, that one right straight back into the styrofoam because I know that one, if I lose it, I'll never see it again. I could step on it and I probably wouldn't even know it. So
the fancy boys are pretty large too. I mean, large in comparison to like the Katie. You can see that there's a difference in size. Some of these little metal tiny ones, where did the keyhole one go? They're not particularly large either compared to some of the round ones. So this one, if you compare it in size, you can see it's not the same size, but the cutout ones are cool. I don't typically want to start like a huge collection of just these solid metal ones because I like the lithography on these so much. The graphics are amazing. But if these have some sort of like a die cut or a cut out of the middle like this, that is super cool.
This is also one of the only ones that's somewhat unique. I had to blow it up so you can see it. We changed our tag to tin and added this piece because our paper tag was imitated. So that's literally on the bottom of the Granger twist. So this ad is actually in one of the articles. You can date these because they only did the ones with the messaging on them for like a year. Oh, so because they basically did it to say our product was being knocked off, it was being imitated, and the paper tags were too easy to fake. So they started doing them in metal. So this is, I think, from the 1880s, the 1890s was when they did this. So it's like that's the kind of stuff that I'm like all over. Like, I want to be able to date these. I want to be able to figure it out. And in some cases, some of them are super cool. But if I can't figure out the story with them, they're not going to become my favorites. Like some of the more simpler ones might become my favorites. I missed one because same thing. I like the lithography is what makes these really attractive. But there's some of the fonts on the earlier ones, I think, were they all metal. And some of those fonts are so attractive that I'm kind of like, maybe I want to pick up some of those.
Yeah, those were cool.
Yeah, it's just like suddenly it's the typography that's interesting as opposed to the art. And then the benefit is they don't get scratched up. You don't lose, some of the graphics on there. But some of the older ones would be the story. Like, okay, well, who were the first companies that did this? And then what happened to those brands? At what point did these brands get replaced?
And it is really hard researching Tobacciana, but it is fun. And, you'll pick up little pieces here and there. The tax stamps for the tins are a great way to date them. But researching some of these ads or catalogs, those will really help. But you have to go down a whole rabbit hole with that, which could be a whole fun little, 4 or 5 hour journey.
I've never seen the rainbow ones. Angela did some digging. That's cool. I didn't see that one.
I saw that one, but I think, Angela, was it like $25? It was one of the more expensive ones. And
it's also an interesting exercise because I also found some interesting pieces spelling tobacco wrong. So eBay does autocorrect, or it recognizes the popular misspelling, but it did not recognize, I think it was TABBACO. They did not recognize that as an alternate spelling of tobacco. And so when I did that, I suddenly found like all these different things, only 1 or 2 tags, but some tins, some coupons, some tax stamps. Like, okay, this is interesting. And then you also get into the international ones, which I love international stuff. Nate says that he doesn't know of any of these down in New Zealand. I haven't found any European ones yet, but then you also get into, they spelled, in some cases, tobacco was tabak, TABAK. So all of a sudden it's like, well, are those then listed somehow differently? There you go. So that's the one I've got the really crappy version of.
So Angela
that's a good version of it. That's really clear.
So there's this one. Here's the rainbow one. Okay, so I did see this. Yeah, it was $25 plus free shipping. So it's cool. I just don't know if it's $25 cool, because for $25, like Patrick and I are finding, we can buy a whole lot of these. Now, this one's cool with the padlock.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I like that one. And then, okay, Patrick has this one. Well, he will have this one. He got it in a lot. And I was totally jealous, the whistle, because I'm like, man, that one's cool.
Big whistle, yep. Hasn't shown up yet, but it's on its way.
So this one is $19. And again, that's where I'm trying to figure out, Patrick and I both, which ones are, worth paying up. Now, this sledge one, I've never seen another one. So maybe I would pay up for it because it's just super cool. So,
well, that's the one that I have that has such bad graphics. So I think in that case, yours is probably, it's worth 25, because like technically I probably only paid $2 for this one, but you can barely tell what it is. That one seems to be a much clearer version of it.
Yep. So these are just so spectacular and they're so fun. And I'm totally obsessed.
And it's nice to be obsessed about something that's relatively inexpensive.
Yes.
So it's fun because particularly at this point, because we are being able to buy them in lots, I've slowed up a little bit, because in some cases, like, okay, there's 15 in this lot. I already have 9 of them. So yeah. It's like, is it really worth paying for the entire lot, even if it's only $2 or $3 a piece, when technically I only need 6 of them? So now I'm paying like $6 a piece. It's one of those, do I want to spend that money on something, quality over quantity? So it's a balancing act right now. There's a couple of things that are happening on eBay that some sellers are getting out of the business. They're older, so they're just selling off their collection. So to a certain extent, they seem to be flooding the market. So they're getting them out there. And so these lots are not, I think 2 of the lots that I got, I didn't have anybody bidding against me. I think the big one you got, you did have a couple people bidding against you, but you still ended up under $1 a piece. So like you got a great price on that one.
Yeah, I bid out the person at the end that tried to snipe me. I was like, nope, I'm getting this, and I'm just swiping as fast as humanly possible. And then I saw the wheel. I'm like, man, did I get it? It's like, you won. I'm like, yay. People next door to me probably heard me shout with excitement. We're like, what the heck is going on over there?
I got tobacco tags. Even if you explained it, they wouldn't know what you were talking about.
No, they'd be like, I'm sorry, come again.
Bye, Natty.
Bye, Natty.
And we're gonna wrap things up too. This was longer than I'd anticipated. Yeah. But it's fun, and I'm not sure what my chats are going to be like going forward. I'm still going to be in this late night slot at least until the 10th. And actually, I'll announce one of the things that's going to be happening on March 10th is opening night for my show. So I will not even be able to participate in this late night slot because we will still be there. So I am actually going to do a drop sale that night, and I might turn it into an event. So there might be some other stuff going on that evening. But then after that, so on the 17th, I'll return back to my 8 p.m. slot. But I don't think I'm going to go back to a traditional live sale format. I might do more things like showing you, like I showed you the scrapbook, things that are going to go up on my eBay channel. Just let me find them on eBay. They won't always be auctions. They'll just be stuff that I'm putting up on eBay, showcasing a little bit. But there's so much competition right now for live sales. I have more fun just hanging out, and you guys have been great. Some new people showed up, which I think is fantastic. I welcome everyone that's joined in.
Yes, of course.
And, and we'll see if I go to an earlier slot, I will probably have more competition. So who knows what's going to happen. But at this point, if it's not fun, why am I doing it? So, I'm not saying the sales aren't fun, but I'll probably change up some formats, maybe do more group sales, just something to mix it up. I've been doing live sales for 2 years, and it's been almost 2 years, started in May. So it's almost 2 years that it's just maybe time to mix up the format a little bit. So thanks everyone for joining again. Thank you so much, Katie, for just hanging out with me. Thank you again for my bring back the hat pin. So again, that was from Katie.
On you, it looks great.
So that remind people, what are the hashtags that they should be tagging for the Broach Gang?
Yes, so make sure if you're going to participate in the Broach Gang that you tag hashtag the Broach Gang. There is a the in there, which does seem to get lost. And then make sure you tag Angela Marksberry, Dear Angela's Vintage, and myself, vintage_and_vinyl on Instagram. That way we can find it and enjoy sharing and commenting on your posts. So it'll be really fun to get everyone back into the brooches and the hat pins.
Is a Van Dyke a hat?
I think it is. But I know she's talking about also tobacco, which I think there is a Van Dyke tobacco.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not 100% sure.
And either way, everyone is. That's one of the Piper Heidsieck. Yeah. I have a Heidsieck one too, but not the champagne one. And they're addictive. They're not rare. Like, you just type in tobacco tag, and you're going to find literally hundreds of them, and likely you're going to find something you think is pretty cool. So and they're small, they're lightweight, and you could just tuck them into another portion of your collection. So again, thanks everyone for joining in tonight. Hope you all had fun. What else you got coming up on your channel, Katie?
Well, I am going to be part of Catherine's collab on Monday for Valentine's Day. So
I've got to record that. So am I, but I haven't done it yet.
So we are doing short videos. So they're literally YouTube shorts. And I'm going to be part of her watch party, which I'm really excited about. We'll announce all that over on Instagram. But just a reminder, if you want to join in on that, Catherine did a great little video explaining everything on Catherine Young's channel. So I'll be a part of that. And then make sure this Sunday you tune into my channel, because I'm hosting the next Tales from the Triptych. And I am going to be telling the tale of Truffaut brooches. So you don't want to miss out on that. It'll go nicely along with our new hashtag that we've started. And you can all share your Truffaut brooches over on Instagram in preparation for the Triptych, not duo dive, at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock. Good. Holy moly. Okay. Anyway, we'll get it together, folks. 8 p.m. on my channel this Sunday for the Triptych. So there we go.
And I was just clarify, buying space. It's a man's beard. So I am familiar with a Van Dyke beard. And if you go back about 6-8 months ago, it was when I was trying to grow one. It was my homeless stage, and it was scraggly. I couldn't get it shaped. A Van Dyke beard is basically pointed at the end, and so I wasn't trying to do a true Van Dyke, because that's a little theatrical. But I was trying to do tight at the side and then more tighter. Yeah. I couldn't do it. It was going all over the place. I've got this weird cowlick in this middle. So anything that grows, once it starts growing past my chin, it starts angling off to the side. It's like, come back. So yes, so I wasn't sure the comment initially, like, I didn't know if it was a non sequitur or if it was related to something else. So I thought we might've been talking about the hats or something. So yes, Van Dyke beard, I would agree. I just could not pull it off. So my channel, I will be in the Triptych with Katie on her channel on Sunday, watching the Truffaut. I will do a video with Catherine's challenge, or Catherine's collaboration, from Monday the 14th. I got to remember to do that. And then the next duo dive will move back to my channel next week. So we did the duo dive last night. Katie hosted my collection of glass flower frogs. If you missed that, go and check that out on her channel. But this next Wednesday will be Depression Glass Guy, and he and his partner will be doing a presentation on using depression glass pairing with alcohol. So they will be talking about the stemware, how to use different pieces that were made by the different companies to be interpreted to making cocktails. So we will have a barware collection, stemware collection on next Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on my channel. And then next Thursday, a week from tonight, will be another kind of a chat like this. You know, we'll have different topics. We might do it as a haul video if we've got anything new to show. I have a bunch of things that are en route to me. Might be more tobacco tags, but I have some other things en route to me too. Like the brooches. I might have some other things. And, you know, and watch, if you don't follow me on Instagram, I will probably do one of those drop sales. I'll probably start small just to kind of get the hang of it. But thanks for the tips that people were giving me. And I will go look at some of the other sellers that people were suggesting. So thanks everyone for hanging out. Really appreciate you giving us your time. Thanks for putting your trust in Trusty Huckster. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody. Bye.